All right, we're going to start with a flowing sequence to get the bones in a warmth and a circulation that kind of stems from the inner lines of the body and then kind of loops around the back line. So I want you to have your chair so the seat faces away from the wall. And if you are going to do the kneeling work when we lunge, you can have a blanket kind of far back on the mat near where your feet are going to be in the beginning. But if you don't put your knees down for lunges, don't have a blanket. You choose. You can always slide it on there if you want to try. But reach kind of distant, almost as if you feel like, oh, am I going to make the chair? Am I going to get to it? So you're going to kind of paw your way to that chair seat and then take a step out with the feeling of not just feet, but also kind of your hips. So move your hips side to side so that the stepping apart of the feet to the edges of your sticky mat gives you a blend of circulation and also kind of some muscular awareness. Okay, so pushing the chair away, although keep it next to the wall, it won't go anywhere. Lower down your head between the arms and feel if this is too distant from the chair for you, you can always kind of scoot a little closer, or even pushing your blanket around. But explore the circulation of the bones, recognizing that experience of spacing, right, between the hand, the armpit, the spine, the hips, and feel where your head is centered between the arms. If your head is below the arms, I want you to try to lift it up so that your arms almost kind of hold it in that position mysteriously. They kind of hover besides the head. So explore the knees bending, the spine extending. If you need to scoot closer to the chair because it's too much on the shoulders, that's fine. Okay, and breathing. Feature the movement of the breath in the back landscape. So the spine, the lungs, get a really deep stretch here. Okay, now feel the hands onto the chair and move the feet closer so they're about hips distance apart, toe heel, them closer. I know if the toes are on the fringe of the blanket, you might have to do a little bit of a toe play here. All right, so bend the knees, and as your head lifts, you're going to start coming into up dog. So sometimes saying what we're doing has us move into habit. So feel that you move forward, and then walk the feet back so the big toes are close, and you're going to scoop through the spine, lifting the chest towards the ceiling. Feel the legs trying to kind of squeeze together. And then push back, heels land on the ground, extend through the spine and the back of the pelvis. That's an area that's a little tricky for me to feel that really stretches here. And then when you come back, we'll alternate this up dog, or we'll call it up chair dog. And then see if you can kind of move your way through your feet, like you're stretching in the bottoms of the feet. And maybe the toes are interactive, lifting and lowering. We'll take it one more time. This time, when you move forward, we're going to step the right foot to the chair, and it's underneath the chair seat. You can't see it probably. And as you lower down the back knee, you may need to slide your blanket farther behind you. You may decide to have your toes under and barely use the blanket at all, maybe even keeping the back knee up off the ground. But as you lower down, feel if you can, or lower the back knee a bit or all the way to the blanket. Try to lift up at the chest, right? If it hurts your wrist, you can make fists with the hands. Sometimes that pinky side of the fist can work pretty good on the chair or pushing into it. And feel where the weight lands forward. So my right knee is touching the chair. It's right against it. Okay, it's not hurting my knee, but it is touching into my knee. Okay, so working on that reach of the chest forward, subtle. It's like probably a 10% intensity for most of us. Okay, now I want you to focus on this back leg, helping stretch your chest area. So if your knee is down, you're going to hook the toes under on the left foot, and you're going to lift up the back knee and try to really work with that feeling of reaching up with the chest. You don't have to toss your head back, but feel the chest lifting. Breathe. Okay. Now let's extend the back heel towards the floor. So stretching the heel down, maybe the right leg stays bent, maybe it starts to straighten. Let's kind of emphasize just clarify that it's the calf stretching behind you. So whether your right knee is bending more or less is entirely individual here. Okay, so if your right foot is turning in, you might kind of peek down, make sure the foot is parallel towards the wall. Okay, now we're going to try to balance on this one. So the back heel has to shift. You have to turn the left foot, turn it out. Okay, 90 degree. Push down to your right heel and then standing up into a extension of the hip, left hip front. And it's a mild movement in the ribs. Warrior one is what you might discuss this motion in the body, but we feel that the left side, this front thigh, I want you to keep that reaching. And this is kind of a curious one for me, how I feel my hip reaching. So I've got to lift up with the rib cage, probably more so than trying to force my arms, lifting it back. So maybe bring the hands to your center. It could be like out from the navel, it could be down to the hips, but feel that you're kind of bossy, right? You want to be kind of in a bossy look. So you're holding your hips, you're centering towards the wall. This left thigh is stretching, and the inside line of the back leg to the knee has a really creative stretch, I find, for the knee. Okay. Now we're going to shift forward to the chair with our hands. And I want you to lift the back heel and feel that left heel lower to the floor one more time. Try to alternate lifting and lowering the back heel so that you're stretching through the calf and the bones of the foot. They might get tired, just moving the bones this way. Lift and lower, strengthening up into your hip. Okay, now you're going to shift the right foot. Make sure your hands are pushing the chair as the right foot steps back. And then move the left foot forward. That calf has just had a pretty good stretch. So feel maybe in the beginning with the left leg straight, because we kind of have to recirculate out of the last pose. Okay. Recirculate that left calf. Okay, bend the left knee, lower down the back knee. Okay, remember, you decide if this is actually happening for your knee on a blanket. And if there's a question or you got to the blanket and felt okay, but getting there hurts, you might have to use your decision-making skills, right, internally. Kind of notice, okay, if I lift my back knee, if it starts to hurt again, you might be okay with it on the blanket for the time being. Stretching through the front of the hip. Move the chest forward. This doesn't go very far, does it? With a lift of the chin. Okay. Now feel if you can push down into your left foot. Seriously push down into that left foot. Okay, now take the load off the back knee. So you're going to push down to your left foot. Maybe your hands on the chair. Take the load off the back knee when you lift the knee up. I find that it helps me so much with my knee joint. So when I lift up, I want you to stretch that right heel towards the floor. Ooh, sometimes it goes, sometimes it doesn't, all the way. If your left foot kind of squiggles out to the left side, the whole leg moves. You might accomplish getting the back heel down. And balance the positioning of pressing into the chair. Breathing. Okay, and feeling how the coordination is now into that back foot. So the left knee comes into a little more of a lunge, even if the back heel comes up. You have to find that we do the work evenly, one side to the next. So one side, your heel might come down easier. The dominant side, it might not come down as well because it's contracting more during the day. So it has a little bit more inner grip. And then feel if you can just cleverly turn that right foot out, just the right amount too. So that right hip feels a sense of opening, and then press down through your left foot, bend the left knee towards the chair, and then coming up into warrior one. Yeah, if you get a little tippy, it's nice that you have a chair. You can always lean down and reset, even reset your left foot if you want it closer towards your center of gravity. But this is a good one. I like warrior one when I set it up nicely, feeling where the weight bearing is in towards the legs up into my hip. The arms could be down by your hips and keep squaring off the hips of this back front thigh. Feels like it's elongating. Okay, arch through the spine, center through the heart, breathe. Yeah, there's areas, if this is like, let's say a knee that has more challenge than the other knee, and you notice that hip is tense, you can't quite figure out how to work with it, let that mid body, your core body, keep lifting, even visualize the lifting if it doesn't apparently move. Okay, now when we come back to the chair, we're going to go forward. And we're just going to simply step. Actually, let's do one more of those chair dogs. Let's lean back, take the both heels about a little wider than hips distance, and feel that hand press off into the chair. And noticing if the back feels like it's kind of rounding, it's probably not, but you might notice that reach through the shoulders and the breath widening the back circulation. You gotta think, breathe in through the nose, back area expands, the lungs expand. Okay. All right, let's get into the chest here. This feels like a bit in the chest. It does. I like this variation. Now we're going to sit in the chair. So let's see. Let's come forward and take a turn to sit on the chair, unless you want to sit through the chair. Take the blanket off to the side, get a ball, and place it between the knees. You know, your feet could be in that parallel position. It's kind of nice to have a little breather between our standing set. So I'm sitting forward in my chair, clearly, but I'm kind of on the edge of the seat. I like this so that when I squeeze the ball, which I want you to try to do, squeeze the ball and then relax the grip. You know, kind of feel the muscles of the legs working and really relax your feet. I find this one funny because the leg, all the muscular awareness around my knees, I can work on developing and kind of curating and stimulating those muscles, especially adductors, right? And hips. So squeezing and then releasing the squeeze on the ball. The block would not work quite the same way for this one. Okay, so if your toes are turning in, that's okay. I want you to feel that you actually are squeezing, and then you hold through your hands at the back of the seat of the chair. So you want to scoop the fingers around the seat of the chair. You can keep squeezing and unsqueezing the ball, up to you. I don't know if you have to say the word unsqueeze because it relative to the experience, you squeeze it and then you release the grip, huh? Okay, so feel the left ear tilt to the left shoulder. Relax the squeezing. Keep the arms straight back to the seat of the chair, working on sitting up. Okay, you have to sit down to sit up, I guess. Okay, now really feel how that left ear moves towards the shoulder. Now, can you impress yourself a little bit more with the neck circulation? For some of us, it's you can feel the circulation in the lungs and the heart rate. Okay. Now, when you come back up with your head center, you're going to go left first. So before we take the other neck side, bring your right hand to the left, outside of the left knee or leg, and then turn. Okay, now your head might curiously kind of tilt, but you don't need to act on that. You can just let the feeling of your head rotate. Squeeze into the ball. This is important so that the knees don't transfer the alignment in the hip. So if I squeeze the ball, likely one hip won't go farther forward, even though it's subtle, than the other. Okay. Okay, now come back center. Bring your left ear back to the left shoulder. Hands stretching back to the seat of the chair, all the way back. You bring your head back up center. You might notice one side feels a little bit looser in the neck. Right ear now to right shoulder. And kind of play with, do you move your throat forward to do that? Do you have your head tilted forward, then tilt your ear to your shoulder? You know, try it all. Breathing. Relax the grip on the ball. Just be a breather. Okay, head back in center. Turn to the right, left hand, now squeeze the ball. Left hand to the outside of the right knee. Squeeze into the ball and feel, these can be kind of potent if you analyze them, but feel where your knees push into the ball. Can you basically isolate that activity? So it's not like everything has to grip right now. Okay, isolate the knees, squeezing in. Turn the waist to the right. Make it minimal, so it's just very simple. Feel your head, top of the spine. Okay, now when you come back forward, let the right ear tilt to the right shoulder. You can relax the squeeze on the ball. Okay, come back up center. Hands release, shrug the shoulders and roll them back. So strolling. So lifting and rolling, strolling along. Okay, now feel if your legs you can lift up the heels, kind of slide the feet a little closer towards the chair and roll the shoulders, roll the shoulders. And feel when you lift up that you motion them back, kerplunk. Okay, remove the ball, take a wide step with your feet. And let's take it so that my feet are in a wide stance. If you can see this, but I was a little better at it than that. And moving from side to side. So you're going to shift. It's not going to be simple side to side. It's going to be circulate. So I want you to get a feel the feet are turned out, the knees are out, hands are on them, and you're circulating, going both directions. So get a feel for leaning into, most likely you lean into the thigh, and then you kind of breeze past the middle. But feel when you move through the middle, the weight of the head is obvious, but you know, there's a spine back there too. There's a spine back there. There's a spine at the front, there's a spine in the back. It's spinal. All right, so lean the left elbow and reach the right hand back for the chair seat. I won't be mirroring you on this, but left elbow down, right hand back on the chair. Not the chair seat, sorry, the bar of the chair, the back, the top of the chair. So turn and let this be a little curious. I like to do this and kind of lean down And then spread the ribs, lifting like you're doing cat-cow. It's a sideways cat-cow, isn't it? But you can also stay with the discipline of just simply elbow down, a little bit of twist, side stretch. Take that right hand up and see if you can just aim it to your arm towards your face. So you reach it across. Not too high, not too low. Okay, lower the right hand down to the knee, outer knee, right? And then circulate for a few moments. You can kind of move side to side. You can circle so you can feel the weight in the hips. And usually the sitting bones kind of pop up one by one. They may not make any popping sounds, but they may lift, and then lean the right elbow to the right, just above the knee. And then stretch the left rib cage open, left hand to the back of the chair. Turn the waist, just keep it simple. Like if your direction, like the way you assign things is to overdo it, maybe just a little less, just feel the generic feel of the elbow and the leg and that rotation, possibly affecting your breathing muscles. And if your head is tired or your neck is cranky with this, you could turn and look down to the floor. You don't have to have your head turned to the left. Get that feel of the waist and that rotation in the middle. Okay, now left arm reaches to the side of the face. Try to let that reach. Notice the weight is in the right hip, not as much in the left. Okay, now when we come back in towards center, let the hand go to the knee, and I want you to center yourself so that the right leg lifts and crosses to the left knee and lean forward, okay? So what you'll use is a bolster for this. So get your bolster. You're gonna place it in front of you with your hands holding it. You still have this right foot to the left knee. That's not my foot, but it's my knee. And you got a bolster attachment, okay? So leaning, tilting, and then feel if your bolster is not so firm, you can always bring it closer to you. That can work out nicely, and then it tips the other way. Leaning forward, but flex the right foot to protect the knee. That's really key here, is flexing your right foot. Your left foot has no choice. It's being stepped on. Okay, now let's say you want to go a little deeper and you're curious about how this response will be. The reality is likely the back will round a lot if you try to kind of push into it. So use the breath as a guide. So feel the movement of your breath in the ribs. And if it allows you to move farther forward, such as moving your bolster, then you know that your rib movement is wide and the spine has a reasonable amount of extension versus flexion like rounding. So go for extension and then flex the right foot. That comes and goes, I think. It works and then it doesn't work. Just like a body, huh? Sometimes it works, sometimes it's not working. Trying to get to figure it out. Okay. But this is a pretty good lymphatic one, right? Because there's so many lymph in the groins. So this is a nice awareness in the groins. It's not that deep, but it's fairly obvious. The armpit chest you're kind of plugging into it here. Okay, so you're coming back center and then right foot down. Okay, lift up the chest. Get ready for that second side. You might kind of squirm a little bit in your torso. And then left foot is helped up over to the right knee. If you need to come up all the way to sit and get that guidance over, that's okay. Do what you need to do. But when that left foot is across, I try to keep the foot flexed to protect my left knee. Sometimes I get kind of passive and it goes, but if you can instill that into the foot, huh? Lean into it. Feel that circulation through the back. You're pushing down into your right foot. You're reaching forward. You might scoot your bolster. You might decide to come back with the bolster closer, even if it feels like it's less. That's okay. I'd rather have you feel like your spine has a little more lift than a round in this. Okay, breathing. Let's go all the way forward. So we're going to uncross. You could leave your bolster in the front. That might be okay. Some of us might go this way. We'll have our bolster and we'll lean forward. Some of us will reach down to the legs of a chair. So my feet are as wide as the mat. I lean. I have my legs in like a squat because they are in a squat position now. This is a good way to train the body for this without hurting your knees, isn't it? It's good for the circulation to the digestive tract, right? Because that's what squats are really, they're good for that. So when I lean down inside the leg part, then I reach back to the chair part, that leg part, that chair part. So I'm just holding onto the legs of the chair. Of course, this might be easier said than done for some. So when I push down, I could put like a block on top of my bolster and let my head lean into it. That's good, right? Good idea for the circulation into the brain. Or some of us will tend to round our neck there. So I'm better here than if I round my neck more. Nobody wants a rounded neck, I don't think. They're already rounded, I'm sure. So feel where your hands are, either down to the chair, or maybe some of you have your bolster in front of you and your hands are on that, like so. Okay, take a few more moments, kind of steep into the circulation of the groins. Feel the weight into your feet. Good, breathing. Okay, now if your arms are down, this you kind of lost a little bit of the circulation, right? That some of us get this way. So let's all join with an idea. We're going to bring our feet a little bit farther back towards the chair. And then you'll take a forward bend where you're going to get onto the bolster. Okay, kind of like a surfboard pose. So you'll lean and you'll lift. I like to go through Uttanasana personally and then walk my hands forward and then my feet back under the chair. And then you lower down so that you're on the bolster. Yeah, don't get so focused on needing a blanket quite yet. You're reaching the torso, right? The hands are back to circulate in the shoulders. And if this is okay in your shoulders and your wrists, super. It's a good wrist stretch. But some of us, it's not going to be great. So if it's not great for you, I want you to lower down a bit, bring your hands forward, and then just push up so you have a pretty good idea of the circulation into the arms. I feel it in my back. Okay. Lower down, stimulating the strength in my back, lower down the knees so the feet are relaxed. And then take a moment, if you've got a blanket, just place it underneath your forehead, make it high enough so there's no strain in your neck. And let your forehead relax on the blanket. I would push the blanket as far forward as you need to, so you're not compounding the neck. So in other words, I don't want it so close you're curling your head deep into the bolster. But have your forehead on the blanket. You don't want your head up, you want it down. And since you can't see now, huh? Okay. You'll slide your hands back besides the bolster and lift the arms up and try to get the shoulders to shrug back. Okay, so the shoulders are shrugging back. Hands are lifting. That's usually what can do most of the lift is the hands. Breathe. Okay, relax the feet, let the knees be apart, okay? And then bring the hands down beside the bolster, elbows close to the sides, lift up through the spine. We're gonna do this in sets. So this is certainly a lift of the waist and a grounding of the hips. Inhale. Exhale, 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 lower down. Okay, bring the elbows down the side, this time in Sphinx pose so you got support. If you're tired, you can always put your forehead on your blanket again. That's fine. We don't know if you do. Okay. Now, feeling where the thighs are stretching back, just generally from the position. They're not efforting, they're just there, lengthening. You feel the movement of the torso. Relax the buttocks. If you have trouble doing that, notice if your rear muscles are gripping. You have to kind of intentionally let that relax. Okay, now slide. Now here's the interesting for the glutes. So I try to let my ribs move down to the bolster, into it. Breathe so my belly feels like it gets a massage. And then slide the hands back. I know the glutes kind of go, they wake up really quick. So feel the fingers spread out, elbows by the sides, glutes will interact. Not too much though. Lift up in the torso, strengthen through the spine, shoulder center, with the right kerplunk below the ears likely. Okay, now when you reach the chest forward, this time we're going to take a lunge. So that means we're going to have to do a big move. So lift up, shift the hips back, and move the bolster to side. And step the right foot. Let's get a couple blocks too. Why not? I think that'd be nice. So if you need a blanket under your knees, okay. If you don't, we won't be doing much blanketing here. But step forward with that right foot, and then as you lift the back knee up, see if you can manage the strong bend of the front leg. So it's just above the ankle, but some of us will feel the circulation in the thigh. Okay, now step the left foot to the right, and let's keep the feet about hips distance. Take a forward bend so the hips move back, like if you bend the knees and then start to lengthen the back of the legs, usually the hips will move behind you and up towards the ceiling. Okay, now our flexibilities are varied. So some of us are going to use a block set in front of our hands and below, kind of reach forward of the legs and bring our hands to the blocks, whether they're up higher or they're lower. And some of us will lower down our chest all the way and take a forward fold, like gripping the legs. Okay, and if that's been your tradition because you're flexible, I would try this because in the bone density world, if you have low bone density, this is definitely the one you would go for, even if you could touch your head to your legs. This is better on the spine. I don't know anybody said that having that spine in that position is good for it. So even though you could do it, it feels nice on the head, but let's do those things upside down because our spine is lengthened when we're on our back. If you need to bring your head to your feet, okay. But let the hands press into the blocks, feel that natural reach. You could still be like this and let your head relax, right? But still work on the spine. So let's step the right foot back. Remember, we're going to keep that higher lunge. So move the blocks with you back to your foot and feel that lunge so the back knee is up. This one's easier because you've already had a little bit of momentum. So ride that momentum. Feel how the back heel is reaching. If the leg touches the chair, it's okay, as long as you're not on top of the chair with the leg. Wow, that makes you think, I wonder what that would be like if I put my foot on the chair right now. Okay, so feel when you are in this natural pattern of movement, right? This is a natural movement. It's not usually this big of a step, but your hip knows it. So now turn to your right and take both blocks to the right with you. Take a wide stance so your right leg is, much of it's under the chair likely. It might be up against the leg of the chair. And then get a feel of that arch. But now I want you to work on moving the hips back and the hands either to the floor or to the block. So it could be on blocks. It could be on floor. If you naturally touch the floor, then you probably will not get much benefit from a block being stuck under your hand. Okay, use that range of motion. Yeah, this is interesting for the bones of the legs and the arms, right? The spine in between. So walk the hands back a bit towards the line between the big toes. Feel the natural reach, even if it's a little bit unnatural for you to do this. A little bit of length in the legs, pushing down. If you need to scoot the feet closer because you're sliding out, do so. And then lower down, forehead towards the floor for some of us. For some, that's not going to be possible. So then we'll use that lift or the hands on the blocks, okay? You can also put a block under your forehead, right? You could put a block here. You could put 2 blocks, and the bolster is even softer, right? So if you want a bolster under your forehead, you could add that as well. That could be nice to do. And this one, to put a bolster under the forehead for the pose, okay? Let's give it about another 10 breaths here. So inversion. Okay, you choose. If your head already touches the ground, then it's not going to be helpful to back up with a bolster, even if it's soft. Okay, and it's more cushioning. Okay, now feel where the hips are in that limbo state. They're kind of in limbo, aren't they? Haha, they're in limbs. They're between limbs. Limbo hips. Okay, now feel where the hands are shifting forward. Try to walk on forward with the hands. Scoot the heels in, the toes forward, bend the knees, push into your heels, and then turn carefully to the chair with the hands and turn the right foot so the toes face to the wall under the chair. This is a big deal that your right foot turns, your back foot turns. Everything has its place of motion. And now that you've had your head a little bit down, you probably can do some balance coming up here. So let's set our right foot so now we can see it underneath our knee. So it's easy to circulate. And we'll lift up the back heel, lift up the leg. And you might put your right hand on the chair seat, right on the right edge of it, really. It's not in the middle, likely. And lift the left arm up and try half moon pose. Okay. And if you're halfway to half moon and can't quite find that, you can have both hands on the chair and still work on lifting that left leg up and turning through the hip. Okay, make sure the right thigh has some circulation balance in the knee. So I'm to keep the leg straight for me, but I'm trying to press and stretch up the quadricep, so the top of the thigh, like I'm pulling it up and toning the leg. Yeah, this is an interesting adductor awareness, I think. So turn the waist back to center and lower the left foot. And let's switch. So we'll take both feet back about hips distance. Okay, we'll lower the heels. Okay, feel when you're in that circulation kind of storm. You're pushing. You're not quite in a push up, but you're pushing. Step the left foot and then see if you can use momentum. So momentum would be I step the foot and then I lift the right leg. So play with that. Like, okay, I can step into this and see if that momentum helps generate a different amount, different kind of elasticity into the connective tissue, not so much the bones, but they're all connected, I guess, huh? So turn to the right. If you about fall back, but well, use your chair. Some I see on this one will use the wall. We'll put the hand on the wall, and that helps increase that support. And try to push through the right foot. Feel the waist turn. Breathe. With that right leg reaching back. If it lifts and lowers. Good. Okay, now lower the right hand. Well, it's maybe already down for some. And now I want you to step the right foot to the left and bend the knees, hands up to the hips, come up. You'll see most of me, just not all the way up to my brain, but let's see. We're going to take the right foot up first. So we're going to step up on the chair. We're just going to step a foot up on the chair. So this opposite leg is going to feel, it's almost as if you're trying to stretch it back, the hip back, but it's a stiff area for most of us. So use the right foot on the chair to help stabilize, lift up the ribs. Okay, we're going to do a reverse lunge. So we're going to lean forward. Okay, take care of the joints here. So if the ankle joints are feeling particularly intolerable of this, go slow. Those are important areas to get some strength around. So I'm going to work on stretching my right leg, so flexing the foot. Some of you might go, oh, out of balance here. I'm really in limbo now. But you can always lean down and reach to the wall and then flex the foot. You could do that. That to me is really difficult. I can do it, but it's straining. So I work on the balance and then step into that right foot flexing. I keep the step in my left foot, reach the hands down to the seat, and then flex the right foot. Lean back so your hips stretch back. Oh, this could feel very, very intense. Yeah, flex the foot. Feel that you're kind of drawing the circulation in the calf all the way into the ankle. You know, this kind of mystery, really intense. This can be intense space. It holds you up. So that position between the calf and the heel is pretty interesting here. Yeah, now if the foot doesn't want to flex, like it's just tired, you still will feel some stretch. Kind of levelize the hips. Okay, now bend the left knee a bit more, and then use your momentum in the hip joint. So you're going to move the right knee to bending, and then let that help bring you up to stand with the spine up, and then change sides. Right foot down, left foot up. If you need to do a little bit of shakeout between, that's fine. Sometimes having the discipline is a little bit balance altering. It's not always the most helpful to be so serious. So taking the second side, left foot eventually comes up to the chair seat. You might do a contrast compare moment, just kind of feel, and then maybe go back to that first side and just kind of feel where the load is in the hip. And you're working on the circulation now into the leg. So first things first, simply step onto the chair. Breathe, chest center. Kind of exaggerate the chest, that's better for the spine here. Okay, now when you take the balance, this is a little balance when I flex the left foot and then I lean forward. Some of us that really might take you out, right? It might just that transition, you lose it. So you could reach the hands to the wall. That might help you, although that requires a good amount of flexibility just to do that, doesn't it? So just try reaching down into that reverse lunge. So the hands are on the seat or they're at the wall. That might work better for some of us to actually leave them there. Flex the left foot. Yeah, take inventory of the knees here. So I've got to find a way. So sometimes a fist on the chair is better. A little bit of micro bend. Back foot is parallel, if I can make it happen. Circulation is very deep through the back of the leg. Yeah, this is the longest meridian in the body, right? The bladder meridian through the back body. So that's what we're working with on both sides, really. Okay, now feel where the spine is centering. Okay, it might feel like the hip is kind of pushed out a little bit. Okay, now when you do come out, you might have to put your hands up at the wall. You might find that's just a generous way to move the energy through the upper body to stand. Okay, And then let's come down with our left foot. Maybe shake it out a little bit. Okay. And then hands down, and we'll lower to kneeling, just a moment though, not a long kneel. Then we'll come down to sitting in front of our chair, our delightful chair. Okay. So let's get a blanket. There's probably already one somewhere. That's definitely a prop we have multiple blankets. Okay, so have a blanket in a single fold. Might look kind of large behind you, but it will feel small. That's the idea, is it's not a big lift. Push it far enough back that it's not going to impact your shoulders, because we're going to put our feet up on the chair. Okay, so we're going to lower back first. We'll make sure we got our blocks and our sandbag. You never know what you're going to need. And the ball. This is important. Okay, so I just kind of gently shift my spine on the floor. Ah, nice work, all that standing stuff. We did it. Okay, now we got more to do. So the ball will be between the knees, back there again. And this one probably more important that it's really centered. So it's probably more than just the knee area. It's going to feel like it's a little bit on that lower adductor band. Yeah, this can be an area that is, it's just kind of a weak area for some people with the knee energy. So let's just squeeze the ball. Maybe it's just that it's vulnerable. Okay, it's not weak, it's just vulnerable tissues. Yeah, they don't like to be pushed on too much. Like, the ball is fine to squeeze in that area, but it's a sensitive spot, right? On the inside, a little up on the inside of the knee into the adductor. Just right there. So squeeze and alternate that pressure. The feet can be kind of passive. I want you to really activate that you're pushing into the ball. Okay, now, next time you squeeze into the ball, lift up the hips and the arms overhead. Not the hips overhead, but the arms. And the glutes will activate, and then lower the spine and really enjoy that movement of massaging through the spine. Even if it feels, as you alternate, squeeze the ball, lift the hips, that it's just like it's running on the path of the spine. It's not like ooh, ah feeling, but it is helping you line it up. It's hard to do that standing to really know if it's lined up, but here it is. We feel like we have a center in our back. It's our spinal column. Okay, I'm releasing the grip of the ball when I lower my hips down. Okay, now, last time, just center, get a feeling of pushing in, and let's try the block with the ball in between the knees. So we're gonna have a block under us. I want you to have just one to start. So you'll have one block at the second setting. If it hurts too much, if it hurts, you have a block below. That's just fine. You have one of those two options. Lift the hips up, the block goes under the back of the pelvis. Situate your clothing so it's all right. Okay. Now feel that it kind of pulls that lower back area and stretches it. Because it's like that skin, right? Just that skin is getting pulled across the bones. Yeah, it's nice to stretch the skin a bit too. All right, now have the ball there and lift up the feet and stretch them straight up towards the sky. And if the ball is not oriented just like you like it, you can kind of reset it. But it is a bit of a funny spacer here between the knees. I like to kind of set it a little higher between the knees. Okay, so my legs have this circulation kind of joy. That's the nice thing about standing work, is that when you get out of it and do something inverted like this, it's a little more of an active inversion with the ball between. You've got all this lift off. So let your arms be wherever it feels comfortable. Goalpost, down, reaching towards the chair. You choose, but decide on the circulation of your breath. The pace of it is slow. And it's also trying to lengthen out on both the in and out breath, both sides. Breathing in, belly moves. Breathing out, centering the waist back to the spine. Okay, bend the knees. And what we'll try now is to take a bridge pose with 2 blocks. So you're going to slide the ball away. Don't think we'll need it for right now. Okay. Push into your feet on the chair. Lift up the hips and take 2 blocks. And I would just slide them if they're the second height, this height. You can slide them so they're next to each other under your pelvis. I've seen also having them the other direction, horizontal under the back too. And I think maybe that for some people it just feels more centering because it's a wider base across the pelvis. I just got into this technique and then kind of kept it. But so now going the other direction feels kind of alien to me. So you decide. Okay, and if you decide this is too low, you could also push down to your feet, lift the hips, and stack the blocks on top of each other. So they're at the lowest setting, because that would be reasonable, huh? Not higher than that. Stack them up. And remember, they're just under the back of the pelvis, maybe a tiny bit higher, but not under your spinal column, just the pelvis area. That can be nice too. Stretch the legs both down on the chair, right? Feel the heels reaching. And it's a little pressure in the calves, kind of like that. So the shoulders have to really roll under and in towards the spine. So it's exaggerating the movement of the rib cage. Yeah, this can feel like a lot of movement in the ribs. Shoulders back and in, hands down, chest open. Okay, stretch the attention on the in breath and the out breath. Really feel openness and awareness in the front body. Maybe using the input into your thought arena to busy yourself with deepening the breath, lengthening, and every area in that front zone that you can help open up and relief. Get some relief there, openness in the lungs. Okay, now walk the feet up onto the seat. Feeling that the knees are in that crease, that there is some heightened ability to push into your feet. Okay, so I want you to just take this one into cobbler's pose. So if this much height under your spine is too much, you can always slide away one block or both blocks and then move the soles of the feet together and the knees out. You could do that with or without the blocks. The blocks bring a little bit more kind of circulation through the legs because the hips are lifted. So there's a more of a groin stretch. So that lymph drainage, right, is a little more activated. And not to say that's easier, because you'll feel a stretch in the legs. But it's a nice area to feel stretched, because usually when we think of stretching legs, it's back of the leg most of the time, probably. A little bit of the time the front of the leg. But the adductors are hugely important. Circulation field, right, for the lymph nodes. So this 2 blocks is plenty. You don't probably want to go higher because of the spine success. And if your spine feels pretty good in this helps you recognize how good it is to extend our spine versus round our spine. Part of it's the openness of the chest. That's a bigger discussion, I think, than in a pose. So feel the relative length of your upper back into your neck. Now that we have an awareness of the knees moving out, carefully feel the back of the pelvis center on the blocks, bring the knees back up to point towards the ceiling, walk the feet apart, and then push into your feet. And feel how the spine adapts, right? There's a little bit of balance, right? Cohesive balance in the low back. So lift up the hips, slide the blocks away, and we're going to shift into the knees towards the chest, spine down. Relief. Spine ease feels relief, knees to chest. So hold the back of the knees, rock a little side to side. Take a moment where you really do feel that length in the back. And again, we're on our back for the next few moments. And this is something to recognize, the line of energy in the lower back waistline. All right, try to get that when we do move into the next shape. So feel that energy, and usually it's the stomach muscles that help that too. So when you roll to the side, help yourself up. We're going to take a seated series, a seated field series. So you're going to pull your blanket in, and yeah, I hope that worked out pretty good, the bridge pattern. So we'll take the blanket, and I'm just going to keep it in a single fold. I don't need to change it. I just need it under my leg parts, my pelvis, and then I got my chair parts in front of me. Okay. It's fun to speak so generically. Okay. Leg part, arm part, chair part. Get a sandbag. Get your sand baby. Sand baby. Okay, maybe a ball. All right. And then you've got the right foot pushing under to the wall, under the chair. And I would use a ball under the left knee. Okay, so kind of take some time. You're going to be cattywampus here. It's not like you're going to be straight back with the hips centered. You have to turn it a little bit. So feel the foot at the wall first, toes up. Then feel the left knee bending towards the right leg. The left knee bending, left foot to the right leg. Don't focus on putting your foot, I shouldn't say don't because you will then, putting your foot on the right thigh. Be really random. In fact, maybe the feel is that the pelvis has this broadness in the moment. So when I put my sand up on the left thigh, I want you to first begin with shifting the ribs center. Feel a turn to the back, but don't process the twist. No twist processing, but turn towards the back so your waist is lifting, you're turning, and then bring your right arm up onto the chair seat. If you can't get your arm on the chair, you need more height under your seat. That's close to where I'm at. I'm almost at the point where I need a little more blanket because I'm short, but I'm just going to keep working the waist to stretch. So if I get my torso to lift, I can find some success. But this right side of the waist should feel a stretch. And the left. Right hand can reach to the back of the chair. Some of you can actually get the bar at the back of the chair and hold. And it's not quite for me. Not quite my length, but it's not bad to try for it, or put your head to your hand and keep striving for that side body length. And again, if you want more height under your seat, just go get it, right? You could sit on a bolster, you could add one more blanket. It'll bring you up. Okay. Now, left hand could be behind your back. Seems to be the most simple way to be. And then feeling the ribs move with the breath. There's no reason to move the arm to the ceiling unless you're feeling like you want to have that kind of active experiment with your breath and the muscles. You can move your arm up. I sometimes feel the quality of the arm behind my back. It's like a wing with that left elbow bending. Just give it another about 3 breaths. Let's not overdo our time on it. Feel the circulation. Okay, we're going to keep it simple like that. Instead of taking big twists, we're going to stay with side body. So right arm releases. If it's holding the back of the chair, the arm goes down to the hand on the chair and then come up. And then changing between sides, let's take a simple cross-legged forward motion. So I'm going to move my sand to my right thigh and then slide my left leg to under the chair and then take a simple leg crossing. Yeah, this is kind of loads your hip. So remember, if this sand is here and then now here, it's loading the hip. So be gentle, right? So you already have the weight on your body. You don't need to add more. If you want a ball under a knee, use one. Just find that seated upright position. Breathing. Some of you are going to want to dive in and just feel more, but it's okay to feel centered in the hips and the spine up. That's good sensation. That's sensational. It isn't sensational, but it's sensational to do it. Okay. Right, now go back to that awareness when we were visualizing and focusing on our spine when it was on our back. So when you come back and you change sides, I want you to kind of keep that length in your back, push the left foot to the wall, turn to the right. My right foot on this side naturally pushes to my left leg much quicker. It's because I process this side differently, but I'm going to use the ball under my knee, on the right knee, and let there be space in my pelvis. Again, you want to have kind of a feeling of this width in the hips, the pelvis, right? This will be easier for a female to feel with the pelvis differences. So if you're male, this one you're going to want to go, okay, I'm pushing into the wall, I'm keeping the knee out, and then really working on that support of the pelvis and the leg muscles. So turn to the right for a moment. Just feel that the spine is turning from the axis of the thoracic, so the middle back. Let this lower back be really plugged in and centered. That could be interesting to decipher, isn't it? To go, okay, the center part of my body does the movement. This lower back is aiming to the tailbone. And then lean to that chair with the left arm. You can hold the back of the chair. It's not there for me. And your head is in your hand, for those of us that don't hold the chair. And it's nice to sometimes put your right hand back to the sacrum area and keep that openness of the chest. Right? One wing might fold differently than the other. You go, oh, one side has a little bit different, very minute differences in the rotator cuff sometimes, but I know it does change our lives when they have little injuries too. So take the time to be simple. Relax the front of the left thigh if you're gripping it. And some of us will grip our top of the left hip on this one. So try to get that to stay relaxed. Left front, upper thigh. Okay. Now feeling where the right shoulder shifts back, lift up through the crown of the head to come out from the chair, take the sand off, and then take the left leg, cross it in front of the right, and add your sand on the left thigh if you haven't already. So, you know, when you have weight and you're seated, you have weight on the legs and you're seated, sometimes it'll take you kind of down, like you might get roundy. But see if you can rise above using a ball. That feels good. Hands on the chair. You choose. If you're going to lean farther forward, that's up to you. Maybe it feels like improvement because it's sensational. Again, most of us can work on this spine power anyway. So seated upright. Okay, feel where the hips are centered. The spine is up. Spines are us. Okay, those of you leaning forward, come back up to center, just a minute with that one. And then we're going to take the sand off and actually have it on the left side today. And we'll move our chair. You don't need it behind you for this one. It's not going to do any good if it's behind you today. Okay, so let's take it so we'll shift our legs forward. If you want to do a little bit of feet press into the wall, this can feel kind of nice for the spine. To have the knees in a strong bend and push into the wall. Again, a big bend of the knees. And the hips are pressing with the sitting bones. Okay, and then shift forward, take the blanket back so it's in a quarter fold. So you have a little more fold with the blanket. Might as well make it perfect. And then toss it back and let's get onto our back and add a bolster. If you have your bolster across the room, you might have to go get it. Add a bolster besides your right thigh and a ball too. So I'm going to take the bolster to the right side of my mat. It's off the mat. And then my head centers back, my knees are bendy. And then I have a ball and a sandbag. Okay, so you could push your bolster farther out depending on your hip openness. But as you swing the left leg over to the bolster, see if you can find a kind of just very simple motion for the back of the pelvis and the hips. So even if you repeat this ad nauseum, that's okay. It's nice, like awareness through movement anyhow. So you're going to add the ball to that sacrum area. Maybe it's a little lower, like at the gluteal fold. Should feel like, okay, this is helping my anchor my hips. And then maybe add your sand to the outer left thigh. So it's a hip crossover position. You have a blanket that's a little higher than the last pose. And then, I can get that to stay. Let the left arm stretch open. And then let your head maybe turn left or keep it centered. Yeah, right hand can rest on the torso. Feel the right knee bending. The lower leg is a little bendy. And let's give a generous dose of circulation into the hips here. Breathing slow. Center the flow of the breath in the lower abdomen. And just feeling the weight of your hips. So maybe you don't feel the weight of your hips, but you're focusing on your breath. But this waist stretch is important today because we're not doing every little thing we do in restorative. So you want to still influence the waist area with the breathing and the shape. Okay, now feeling the circulation with the sand and just nudge it away and take figure 4 pose. So that is just to shift the ball, be on your back and bring your hips to center. So the back of the pelvis is right in the middle, even on both buttocks. Left foot up crosses to the right knee and just let that left knee kind of swing open. Take a moment with that left knee swing open. If you're near the wall, you can kind of put your foot up at the wall. This can be nice to do. You can scoot closer to it for this one, but it's a good one to keep the spine in this attention. So pulling the knee in is your, kind of the prescribed version of that. But sometimes I like to just let the knee shift open and let that hip adductor circulation be kind of inverted a little bit. I know this is a little bit more of a squeeze and it adds just too much. So this is okay from what we just came from because we had that leg on the bolster. The inside of it was touching down. We're just changing the field. Okay. Now feel where your right foot pushes. If it's on the floor, if it's on the wall, it won't affect this direction. But if your foot is pushing, kind of feel the spine kind of arching. I want you just to let it press into the floor. So if it's starting to pull away, press the spine back into the ground. Okay. Grab the bolster and then move it to the left side of your mat. And let's get ready for that second side. So the left knee can just lower down. You can let that left foot and knee lower to the floor just in that shape almost. And then I tend to slide my hips over to the right a little bit and then cross the right leg to the left onto the bolster. So it's probably a good awareness through movement tactic to just kind of muster up a little bit of curiosity of, oh, okay, I'll just go from figure 4 and then flop over and maybe rocking back and forth and then get the ball. Yeah, sometimes the ball fits better for me where I just kind of put it right at the rear and it doesn't go anywhere. But if I put it too high up in my back, it just kind of slips out. So, it's an anchor. It doesn't have to be a specific spot. It doesn't have an alignment number. Right. It's sacrum 2.5. Okay. No, it's not. Sand on the outer right leg, outer banks, and then right arm is open. Let your head roll to the right. Feel that expression in the chest. Final poses here. And if this leg feels as if its movement is has a little more free ride through the spine, it's something to notice if it's your dominant side. If you feel like you're actually able to get more stride and movement into your back, it's pretty cool. Just to take these slow moments. Slow medicine is probably what you could call this. The restorative class, slow medicine. Feel how the chest can open and the shoulders can center back. I know that left shoulder is pretty weighted, but the right shoulder is likely just struggling to stay down. So if the arm lowering downwards is better for your shoulder to stay pinned down, that's fine. So you can feel the chest circulation. Okay, now figure 4 pose. So last one, right? So we're going to shift our sand towards the wall. So we do kind of wall shavasana here. And then bring your right foot to left knee and just kind of center. Doesn't have to be a big, blown out stretch. That's not the idea. No hip blowout here. But you would feel the lower back probably kind of off the ground. So try to center it to see if the time will help you center. Sometimes that's all that helps us center is time. If we take the time or make the time. I think it's make, not take. Make time. Okay, now feel where the thigh matter is on, where it connects to both sides of the pelvis, right where it is different here. Right side's a little different than left in the moment. Push into that left foot. Okay, and then roll to the left side, so arm cross through the legs. And you're going to shift over and take your bolster to the wall. And you'll push your body up to it. So I would find that you have your blankie. If you don't want a blanket on you, you can let the other one be aside. You could also put your other blanket under your spine like this. Sometimes I like this setup for my spine. I find it kind of interesting in my chest. You can try it. The problem is if you try it and you want to get out of it, it's sort of tough. It's kind of misery to try to pull the blanket out. So you either decide on it or you don't. You got your sandbag and maybe an eye pillow, and you're going to swing the legs up the wall. So you got to turn upside down. Okay. I'm not so sure what I think of this blanket. It's been a while since I used that. So have the blanket under your head and then add your sand to your feet. Yeah. Take your time. And feel your feet push up the sand and the spine elongate. So the flex of the feet is natural with the sand. And the shoulders are back. And again, your head doesn't have to be on this much height. If it feels comfortable, you might slide it a little farther back. You know, for me, just the blanket under my head that's under my spine is enough. Okay, so open up through the chest and center. Slowly, if you have an eye pillow or you want to put a blanket on your core, add that and circulate the inhalation, filling the lungs. And exhale, relaxing the breath out of the body. And just feel that alternating experience of breath and reality of returning the body to a state of balance. And feel where the hips are, even lightly stretching, right? The spine has so much length in this position. The weight in the feet returns circulation back to our hips. So here's a pose so good for our lymphatic draining the lymph, reversing the flow of gravity to the heart, and reversing the effects of gravity on the heart and the lungs. Mostly the heart, right? So it's a vascular pose, heart healthy pose. You know, feel where the shift is in the hips, where there's pressure down into the back of the pelvis just by the mere fact of the legs lifted with sand on them. And then shift the feet away from the wall, bend through the legs, and you could carefully toss the sand or guide it off of your feet. Bend the knees, feel a very strong bend and lengthen your spine. You can hook the arms around below the knees to the shins. You could hold them behind the legs. And then feeling that circulation into your digestive tract. Hold this for a moment. Breathe. Don't hold the breath. Breathe. Okay, and roll to a side and feel that your knees really squeeze up towards your arms. That's a hard one. And then come around in a cannonball shape. Okay, like your little creature. And take just a moment to sit. So we'll find our sitting bones and find our spine awareness lifted from our seat. And lift the hands up to merge together in front of your heart center. Notice that that's a center of awareness, but the center of gravity is the pelvis.